rephrase the question.
You just said them, important to them. Who did you mean by them?
The investigating officers.
Detective Lang?
I'm not real sure if at that point I knew who the investigating officers were.
Were you told by Mr. Matheson that the investigating officers wanted these results in a hurry?
They put a lot of importance on it. I don't know if anybody used the word hurry.
On direct examination, I think you used the words very quickly.
Yeah, I might have.
Would it be fair to say that this was sort of conveyed to you that this was what might be called a rush job?
Overruled. Do you know what a rush job is?
Considering the importance, yes, well, in a certain respect, like, well, if you're working on something else, could you work on this case right now?
Drop everything else and do this as fast as humanly possible. Is that the impression you got?
Objection, that's argumentative.
Overruled.
As fast as humanly possible, well, more like within the parameters of the scientific technology and the technique.
And you then had conversations with Mr. Fung that morning
Yes,
in the evidence processing room,
yes,
and he described the evidence to you?
yes,
And he told you about information that he had obtained from the detectives at Robbery Homicide?
yes,
And he told you that it was important to get DNA typing results on the Bundy blood drops fast,
no,
as soon as possible?
I don't really remember.
Quickly?
I don't recall if Dennis told me anything like that or not.
All right, Mr. Yamauchi, were you under the impression this was a priority matter?
Yes,
All right.
that's the bottom line.
I think we've established that.
Were you told to get DNA results as soon as you could on the glove recovered from Rockingham?
I think to speed things up, the whole thing was kind of like a priority matter.
Were you told by anyone in the laboratory on June 14th, withdrawn, did Greg Matheson tell you on the morning of June 14th, Mr. Yamauchi, don't be in a rush here, just be careful?
It's argumentative, counsel.
Did he tell you to be careful and make sure you didn't do these tests too quickly? Did he say that?
No, nobody gave me any deadlines as to, we want you to have results by here, 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 or anything like that. There was a priority put on it, and if anything, Greg would have told me to work within my own parameters of what I know is possible, and to, above all, it's for all of us as criminalists, make sure you do a good job.
Mr. Yamauchi, my question to you is not what he would have told you. I'm asking you, to the best of your recollection, what he did tell you. Did he tell you to be careful and take your time to get it right?
Objection, asked and answered. Answered, argumentative.
Sustained. We've spent enough time on this.
Last point that I think is new.
That'll be.
It is. Did anybody tell you to get DNA results on the Bundy blood drops and the glove within 1 day?
No.
That was your idea.
Argumentative, counsel.
Was that your idea?
Well, I knew if I worked after hours, I could complete the process. So yes, that was my idea.
So at the beginning of the morning, you had set a goal for yourself that you would be able to process the Bundy blood drops and the glove in 1 day.
Objections, argumentative, misstates his testimony.
Overruled.
Well, I knew that I would have some kind of interpretable results by that time period, but the whole process wouldn't have been complete. There still would have been the product gel that would have had to have been done at a later point.
Did you set a goal for yourself that you would be able to get typing results off the strips on the Bundy blood drops and the glove in 1 day?
Yes, that was my intention.
And that was a goal you set for yourself, and nobody else told you to do it within that deadline?
It wasn't like it was a goal or anything. I knew that if I worked beyond normal working hours, I would have enough time to do that in the same fashion I always do it.
Now, before going through you, fine, withdraw. Before going through with you what you did on the morning of June 14th, step by step, I'd like to just review with you what you did as a whole, okay? On June 14th, you received the specimens from the Bundy blood drops. Withdrawn. On June 14th, you received specimens, completed PCR amplification, and obtained results in 1 day on 23 samples.
Can I refer to my notes?
Yes.
Okay.
And refer you to your amplification records and hybridization records. 1 day, 23 samples.
I did 19.
I'm talking about June 14th.
Yes, I analyzed 19 casework samples.
All right, take a look
That's what you're talking about, right?
Asking you to look at your DNA amplification and hybridization sheets. I'm talking about the specimens, the controls, the reference samples, all that's involved in doing a PCR DNA amplification run. Didn't you create 23 separate samples and tubes to analyze on June 14th before you reported results?
Yeah, that would be 23.
23. Yes?
Let me check for sure, but that sounds correct. Yes.
And on June 15th, the next day, you received specimens withdrawn. And just so we're clear, the evidence items involved on June 14th were the Blondie blood drops, items 47, 48, 49, 50, and 52, correct?
Yes.
2, what you're calling exemplars, that is bloodstains that were believed to come from both victims in this case.
Well, at that point in time, there were no exemplars available.
What
So,
what I mean by exemplars, sir, is that you were given 2 bloodstains. One,
Cut off his answer there. He wasn't done.
just trying to clarify.
Proceed.
You received a bloodstain that Mr. Funk told you was believed to be an exemplar or blood from the Cole Brown Simpson.
well, because we didn't have exemplars at the time, that was to act in lieu of it, to give any possible information it might.
Yes, and so you even put down in your notes you were using it as an exemplar for Miss Nicole Brown Simpson on June 14th.
Let me check my notes. Well, no, actually, my notes specifically state male victim exemplar, off-tree stump, female best sample exemplar, concrete, and then in bracket, these samples not true exemplars.
They're not true exemplars because they're not actually blood from the coroner's office, right?
Right, because we
But-
didn't have it at that time.
Right, but as far as you were concerned, you were taking these 2 samples because Mr. Funk told you that they felt certain that the blood on one of those items could be used as an exemplar for Miss Nicole Brown Simpson, because, is that right?
Actually, it's compound, false or speculation. Here's
Oh,
I'm sorry, could you please start over again?
You took,
Counsel, wait. He read his notes. It's used in place of an exemplar. The jury has heard the testimony. Let's move on.
you knew that these 2 exemplars were being used as samples from the victims.
Well, until we got the real exemplars, yes, that was their purpose, to act in that on behalf of what would be the best possible exemplar.
And that was being done at the same time as the Bundy blood drops on June 14th.
Objection being done at the same time as vague.
Overruled.
That was part of your 23 samples.
It was in that group, yes.
And also within those 23 samples was blood from the reference tube of Mr. Simpson.
Yes.
Now, on June 15th, you received specimens, completed PCR amplification, and obtained results on 19 different samples.
Yes, on the 15th, counting the controls and everything, 19.
And you did all those in one day, June 15th.
Yes, I got through the hybridization step in that time period.
You received the samples, you cut them, you did PCR extraction, and you did typing on a strip so that you could report results by the end of the day on all 19 of those.
Well, I couldn't report the results till all the other things were in place and everything was looked at and written out. But I would have results available for
The,
interpretation.
the evening of June 15th, you called Greg Matheson and gave him results on those 19 samples based on the PCR typing strips.
Yes, I told him what I got up to that point.
The only thing that was missing, as far as the way you did this, was the PCR product gel, right?
Yes.
Now, was it part of your training to avoid analyzing a large number of samples in a short period of time because that can increase the chance of inadvertent cross-contamination and mix-up?
Well, if you're referring to this case, I didn't do it in a short period of time. I did it in
Mr.
quite a big
Yamauchi,
block of time.
I didn't ask,
No, you don't get to cut off the
move
answer.
to strike non-responsive.
Overruled. Let him finish the answer.
Yes, because I went way beyond what a normal workday is in order to complete those
Move to
steps.
strike non-responsive. I asked him about his training, only his
You're asking
training.
about the short period. Overruled. Proceed. Proceed.
In your training, were you taught to avoid analyzing a large number of samples in a short period of time because that can increase the chance of inadvertent cross-contamination and mix-up?
You know, I don't know in those words if that was ever said to me.
Are you familiar with the Amplitude user guide?
Why don't you just ask him if he agrees with that concept?
No, I'd like to show him the actual user guide. He said he didn't have anything in his training, Your Honor. You're not familiar...
We're talking about common sense things here, and we're spending a lot of time on it.
Your Honor, we are talking about basic points of training. That's correct.
All
And
right,
I'd
so
like to
let's proceed.
establish from the
Let's
witness what a
proceed.
basic point of training is here.
Proceed.
Did you review in the Amplitude user guide, withdrawn, in your training, did you review special precautions that are included in the Amplitude user guide?
Yes, I've read through the entire user guide.
And you studied it?
Yes.
And you rely upon it.
Well, that and along with another book, which would be our own protocol and procedure manual, and a lot of other journal articles and experience to make up my opinions, if that's what you're asking.
And may I approach the witness?
You may. Counsel, I assume you have that as well. Proceed.
And you're familiar with the section of the user guide entitled Special Precautions?
Yes.
And are familiar with paragraph 14 of the section on special precautions?
Yes.
And do you rely on that paragraph?
Yes, I agree with that.
And does not that paragraph state that you should limit the quantity of samples handled in a single run to a manageable number, approximately 15? This precaution will reduce the risk of sample mix-up and the potential for sample-to-sample contamination.
Yes, and I think 23 is a reasonably close number to 15.
You do?
Yes, I do.
It's 2 minutes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the morning session. Please remember all of my admonitions to you. Do not discuss this case amongst yourselves. Do not form any opinions about the case. Do not allow anybody to communicate with you with regard to the case. Do not conduct any deliberations till the matter has been submitted to you. As far as the jury is concerned, we will stand in recess until Monday morning at 10 a.m. Excuse me, Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. And I want counsel here at 9 a.m. All right, stand in recess. Ladies and gentlemen, have a pleasant weekend. Mr. Yamauchi, you're excused. You're ordered to come back 8:45 on Tuesday. And enjoy your activities. All right.